Well then, hello everybody and welcome back to TTTV. My name is Kieran McGinley. Joining me in the commentary box is Aaron. Hello Aaron.
Hello.
How are you this fine evening?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. So we've got the Canadian Grand Prix coming up tonight. The race has been delayed for about 5 minutes because of the update that came out today, 1.10. Which apparently, one of the update and one of the notes, you can no longer select reverse whilst travelling forward, and that was a known exploit in the game. I don't think any of the drivers in this league use that method, so it shouldn't affect them too badly. But new update, Aaron, means pretty much a new stable of game. How are you expecting things to pan out tonight?
I think it's going to be a lot better than Monaco. Sadly, I wasn't there for Monaco, but I think there'll be less crashes. One of them, the World of Champions, is quite a huge hitter for DNFs, but I think some people will be able to manage it to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we can get underway with no real issues whatsoever, as I'm struggling to even put the thumbnail on this video. But yeah, should be good. I really hope so. So yeah, so the Canadian Grand Prix, one of my favourite tracks, Aaron. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's a track that has a lot of fast-paced corners, high-speed corners, a lot of low speed as well, which will mean the choice of setup will be crucial. It's going to be good to see how things will pan out.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's almost like a street circuit, and it kind of is, but yeah, it does promote a little bit of overtaking, and there is of course, Aaron, the wall of champions that the drivers have to face. You don't want to end up there halfway through the race.
Definitely not.
The dream team is in the box, says Z3. Well, I'm almost there with the thumbnail. And then I've got to post it on Twitter as well. Oh, the bastion of everything. Right, that's the thumbnail done. So that is lovely. Everyone can see that. It's absolutely lovely. How's the stream on your end, guys? All healthy? All good? I do have to stream in 720p low, but that's not the point. Looks good. Lovely. That sounds excellent. So let's get this on Twitter then. Obviously we have a delayed start of 8:05, but Aaron and I will keep you covered throughout the evening. And well, let's see if we can go through some of the driver standings whilst we have the chance then, Aaron. At the moment then, the Season 11, round number 6, as we head to Canada, looks a little bit something like this. Lambo leads the way with 87 points. Poe is 1 point behind in second place. Spike's in third, 1 point behind Poe on 85. Then it's Squeezy Lemon in fourth with 59 points. Lighty is fifth on 46 points. Technique is sixth on 36 points. Maze is in seventh on 35 points. Z3 is in eighth on 31 points. Steph is in ninth on 26 points. Alan K is 10th on 22. Siege is in 11th on 20 points. Ollie P is 12th on 17 points. Tractor and Weed Nation tied for 13th on 10 points. Damien is in 15th on 9 points. Plaster is in 16th with 6 points. Toro Rosso lead the way at the constructors table, 118 points. They are 11 points ahead of Sauber on 107, who lie in second place. Then it's Renault in third on 96 points. McLaren in fourth on 79. Ferrari are in 5th on 52, Haas are in 6th on 45, Red Bull in 7th on 36, Mercedes in 8th on 35, Williams in 9th on 20 points, Force India still at the bottom with 0 points. So Aaron, Clifford is racing tonight, obviously in that lone Force India as it stands. I'm backing him to score the first points for Force India. They look like they need it at the moment. Oh, Aaron's gone. Never mind. Okay, that's the first sign of insanity. That is 5 plus 4, Maze. Yes. What does that equal? I wonder. Oh. Oh, Twitter just never works how I want it to. So not long now until we start. I've definitely pressed spectate, so I'm definitely ready, and that starts the countdown for the race. The Canadian Grand Prix, one of my favourite tracks. So as we load in now on update 1.10, hopefully it gives us a more stable game. A few of the issues were ironed out, such as selecting reverse gear going forwards, and something to do with one-shot qualifying, which might have come in handy in the Cup, but I don't think it affected us too much, so we will leave it at that. So yeah, a new update does mean it can be a new challenge. Sometimes the setups get a little off. Some of them might get deleted and then reappear a couple of hours later. But other than that, though, I think we're all ready to go for 18 minutes of qualifying. So here we are in Montreal, blue skies all around, and we're back to the old days without any telemetry, and we are just looking at the skies for the weather at the moment. However, I'm hoping it's going to be a pretty good race. I don't know where Aaron's gone, but there we go. Obviously I will try and keep this stream open as much as possible. It's dry according to our weatherman in the pit lane, and it will be dry for the race, so that is really good to hear then. No threat of rain for this one, which is absolutely fantastic to hear. 15 drivers in this lobby today. No matter how many drivers there are in TTL, it always produces a great race, and I'm very happy you've chosen TTTV to watch tonight rather than this so-called whatever Champions League, is it called? No. Let's have a look at some of the... Yes, I was right. There are hypersofts at this track. I knew it. I knew it. So as you can see, Steph and Siege at the moment teasing us with the super soft tyres. Ollie might be going out on ultra soft tyres. I'll tell you who is out on ultra soft tyres though. Clifford. Clifford is out there on a set of ultra softs. The mid-range tyre, and that's a good camera angle there, so we'll quickly cut away from that one as Clifford rounds into this chicane here. Fast flowing track here, and like I said before, Canada is one of my favourite tracks on the calendar. So we head towards turn 10, the hairpin here. Got to get the traction absolutely right. You can take a wider line in there, because you need to prioritise this massive straight here where you're on the throttle for around about 15 seconds. So this is something you need to really set up the car for. Aaron, as you return to the commentary box, it's good to have you back. I was just talking about the track, and the long straights and tight twisty sections can be a nightmare for the setup, but what would you go for?
I think you've got to manage between corner speed and straight line speed, roughly around maybe 4-6 wings potentially, and of course we've got all the rest of the setup to worry about. But I think you've got to put a bit of downforce on, but enough to have good straight line speed as well.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a nightmare. And if you were qualifying today with 15 other cars, what tyres would you choose?
I think it's a difference between the hypers or the ultra softs. Hypers, the softs for pole position, ultras the softs for different strategy. I think some people might start on the ultra softs.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just get a view of Clifford as he heads down this long back straight. Fantastic to see as he heads towards the chicane and towards the Wall of Champions. Squeezy goes top then with a 108.7, Lambo 108.9. Very close at the top there. Clifford then coming towards the line, taking the race line towards the start-finish line. It's a 109.2 from the Force India driver. DNF'd at Monaco with a good chance of scoring points there, so he'll be wanting to change his fortunes around today here at Canada. 108.8 from Technique Gaming there as he rounds the first few corners. And let's see who else is on a flying lap then. Blaster's out there, Sean is as well. Let's have a look at Spike then, who loses the back end very slightly on the exit of the Wall of Champions as he crosses the line to start his flying lap. Ollie's heading towards the hairpin now. And I wonder if he's on a flying lap of some sort. Let's have a look at the telemetry. No, he's not, because he's in ERS mode 0, so he's not going to be setting a good lap time like that. Z3, however, is starting his flying lap. Just clipped the grass on the right hand side there, which is not ideal. Spike is out there on a set of super softs, and Light E has retired from the session. So that is that Plaster's Ferrari there? No, it's not. Light E has retired from the session in the pit lane, so whatever the problem is, he's not happy with it.
Yeah, it's very strange to see from Light E. He has retired, which is a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. So if no one else sets a lap time, then he's starting P10, but hard to see that happening when you've got so many cars out there right now. Such a quick lap here at Montreal, flying through the that lovely chicane there as we head towards the start-finish line. And what lap time can Spike set on a set of super softs? It's a 111.8, but the lap time was invalidated, so he's got to go again. And as we see, Light E, that's why he had a qualifying ban. So that would be why he retired from the session. So that's from Light E himself. So thank you for the info. Spike then using all the revs and more then as he heads towards turn 8 and 9, flying through. And you can see he is using that Ferrari engine and its revs to its absolute maximum. He's gone 1.7 seconds faster than his previous lap time. As now he makes his way down the long straight, and that slight kink right-hander there. It does count as a corner, turn 12 as we head towards 13 and 14. Chuck the car in and hope you don't get a corner cut penalty as we head towards the line with Spike then. And will this lap time count? It won't. So it looks like there, on the second part of that chicane, is where it invalidated Spike's lap time. So he's got to go again. And that can't be good for morale.
He is on the super softs, though.
Yeah, maybe he's getting a feeler for those tyres. However, the more laps he sets on them, obviously that's going to hinder him during the race. So, oh, as he loses the back end massively there, coming out of turn 7. But I think he'll be heading back to the pit lane now. Siege, meanwhile, is on a set of super soft tyres. He's on a flying lap. And we'll be able to see what he can do. Whilst we've been watching others, we've got Clifford there down to P4. Z3 109.8 in P6. Plaster is in 7th place on a 110.4. Sean is in 8th on a 110.7. Siege flies through turns 8 and 9 towards the hairpin here of turn 10. Of course, where just before Robert Kubica had his massive crash.
Yeah, that was very hectic, almost costing him his life, but amazingly he was racing not long after.
Yeah, absolutely. Came away with a broken foot, I believe it was, but didn't take him long to recover from that at all. As Siege heads towards the line then, it's a 109.5 and it puts him up into P7. Spike, meanwhile, did set a lap time eventually with a 109.4, put him up into P5. Poe out there right now, and is he on a flying lap? Oh, he is, and he's hit the back of Lambo there. Now, was that a little bit of lag involved, or I'm not too sure. Poe's carrying on though, and I think below there was a 5-place grid penalty for Poe, if I saw that correctly. Was I correct in that?
It did. Yeah. Just looking back on the straight now.
Yeah,
Before
Poe,
the
grid
straight, I just
penalty.
don't think Paul saw it.
Well, he's got a grid penalty, 5 places, so whatever lap time he sets, obviously 5 places down. And of course, he's at a disadvantage now because if he qualifies in the top 10, especially in 10th place, he'll have to start 15th on the set of tyres he qualified on. And he's already set a lap on the Hypersoft, so that's going to be very difficult to beat on a set of Ultrasofts, for example, if he wants to keep going with the alternate strategy. But as he makes his way back to the pits, he's got a lot of thinking to do here. So Technique, meanwhile, trying to use the bit of a slipstream from his teammate as he heads towards turns 8 and 9. As he flies up towards turn 10, and I keep saying it, Aaron, but I love visiting Canada. It is my favourite track on the calendar.
It's quite a very thrilling track to drive, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, as we head towards the Wall of Champions, of course, in 1999. I'm sure most of you have seen the archive footage by now. As Technique makes his way back to the pits, I thought he was going to fly through the chicane there, but well, of course, in 1999, when Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Schumacher all hit that wall there, and then it was subsequently named the Wall of Champions, that so many drivers have crashed into, including the likes of Sebastian Vettel.
Just goes to show that anyone can make a mistake around here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the high-profile mistakes of Villeneuve, Hill, and Schumacher are all in the race, and luckily for Vettel, he only holds that record in practice, so not the end of the world for him. And I'm just wondering if we're going to see anyone go into the Wall of Champions.
Doesn't look like it at the minute.
Absolutely. Well, we will have to wait and see then. 7 minutes of this session, round about that to go. So Spike is out there on his used set of super soft tyres. Is that right? Fitted best. Yeah, he's on his old set of super soft tyres as he makes his way out onto the track for another lap. So interesting move there. Maybe he's doing a bit of sandbagging then, as Mays now heads towards the chicane. Has he got that right? Looks like he has. On the exit then, heading towards the line, DRS wide open. What's the lap time he can set? So 1:10.1 on a set of ultra soft tyres. So
and
let's
Ollie
have a look.
P has just gone third.
Ollie P, yeah, you're right. 108.9 up into P3 and making it a McLaren 1-3 at the moment. And as he gets right out of the way of the next car, which I couldn't quite see who it was. That might have been Siege, was it? Yes, it was. Well out of the way. Got to be careful with stuff like that because you can get a penalty for something like that, and you don't really want that in this stage of qualifying. Sean, meanwhile, has gone 0.04 of a second quicker through Sector 2 than his previous best time. That might not seem like a lot, but that can be the difference between qualifying in the top 10 and not. But Sean abandons the lap time then, probably because that was going to be his outlap anyway. As Mays does the same, heads towards the pit lane. We've got Technique Gaming on that outlap there, and Ollie and I believe Squeezy heading into the pits as well. So with 5 minutes to go then, Squeezy is on provisional pole, Technique is in second, and Ollie is in third. That's your top three so far. And Lambo there in fourth place, of course unable to set another lap time. And we still have Steph in the pits who hasn't set a lap time yet. So we're eagerly awaiting his, and George Roberts has retired from the session. Now has he retired on track? I'm not too sure. Not many cars out on track though. And George Roberts has been And who was that who moved up the table? Steph it was, who puts in a 1:10.6. I'm sure a minute ago he didn't set a lap time and he was bottom of the table. How strange. Oh well. Live and learn, I guess.
So it says validated the lap time, but the time's counted.
Yeah, how strange. Oh well. We see Technic Gaming coming towards the final chicane. And he's flying straight into the pits. So abandon that lap time. Must have made a mistake on his flying lap, and well, he's not happy with it, so he's come straight back in. So who's out there right now? Z3 is on a lap right now through sector 2. He's 2/10 down at the moment. Still a little bit of a lap to go. He comes towards the sector line now. He's a 10th up. So good news for Z3 then. He might be able to qualify on the ultra soft tyres. The 10th of the second might not move him up a place, but it might put him on a better starting tyre. Here he comes in towards the chicane. And flying through it. Clifford has retired in the pit lane, and as Z3 crosses the line, it's a 109.4 and it puts him just into P6, just ahead of Spike. Steph meanwhile on a flying lap. Is this? I don't think it is, as he heads towards the line. So he's got to go again, and he will. Sean is out there on a set of Hypersofts, and the pink wall tyres in full show. They don't come out so often during this season, but back to back, Monaco and Canada, they're here to stay, but they'll be gone for the next race. Steph still out there. A very quick lap here. It's one of those tracks you could probably get 4 flying laps in if you really wanted to. That's how short the track is, but no short of excitement, that's for sure. As Sean then hoping to try and get into the top 10 with a set of Hypersoft tyres. Coming towards the chicane then. Throws the car in, hope it sticks. And with these cars it's so easy to stick. But as soon as you push too hard, you're punished. Sean then putting himself up into P8 with a 109.5. Good luck from Sean. Inside the top 10. Steph meanwhile heading towards the line on a set of ultra soft tyres. Puts himself P10 with a 109.6. Poe on a set of Hypersoft tyres, 2/10 up on his previous best. Remember, he has that 5-place grid penalty, so wherever he qualifies, he's got to take that hit. The question is now, how far down the grid will he be after his penalty? That's what it is. It's damage limitation now. So here comes Poe then towards the chicane. And he'll chuck the car in. So much speed he carried through that chicane there. As he heads towards the start-finish line. It's a 108.5. He goes top of the table. So that attack there as he retires from the session. So the best he can possibly do right now is P6. What can Squeezy do then? Can he help to get himself 2/10 up? That's what he needs. That was a 112.2 that time around. So he's made a mistake, but he's got to go around again. Technique in the mix as well as Ollie, and Spike will be out on track as well. No, he's not. He's in the pit, so he's starting on a set of super soft tyres in at least 8th place. So he's not challenging for pole. A risky move, isn't it, from someone down in P3 in the championship right now, albeit by 2 points. But going for that alternate strategy then. Interesting.
Must think that it will work, and if it does, then it's fair play. And hat off to Spike if he can get this win.
Absolutely. Riding on board with Technique Gaming then as he heads towards the chicane. And I haven't seen any of his sector times, so it's a mystery as to whether he can get that lap time in. A little bit of a loss at the back end through that final corner. The Technique heads towards the line, and it's a 108.3. He goes quicker, but it's not quite enough. Squeezy down the back straight. We've got to look for Siege as well. As let's have a ride on board with Squeezy then as he heads towards the line. He's half a second up, but he's run out of fuel. And he's 2 tenths down. Couldn't challenge for pole position. Siege then, the last car to head towards the start-finish line. What can he do then here at Canada? He takes pole position. Fantastic lap from Siege then. Siege then on pole for the Canadian Grand Prix. Well, in the words of a certain engineer in F1 2010, that came out of nowhere. 108.4 from Siege seals pole position for him. Poe qualified in second, but due to his penalty, will start down in P7. That puts Squeezy in P2, Technique P3, Ollie P4, Lambo P5, Clifford P6, Poe taking P7. Then it's Z3 in 8th, Spike in 9th, Sean in 10th, Steph in 11th, Plaster 12th, Mays in 13th, George Roberts 14th, and Lighty did not set a time because of his qualifying ban. He will start at the back of the grid. So it's shaping up very nicely then for the race. We'll have to see what the people outside of the top 10 do. Who's your driver to look out for during this race then?
I'm going to go with Spike because of him starting on the super softs. I think that's going to put him first race. I think that he could potentially get this win.
Yeah, my driver to look out for, depending on his strategy, is Lighty. He's proven to be quick over previous seasons, and he has proven to be consistent this one. Obviously getting that podium in the first round of the season. He'll be looking to add some extra points to the board. I'm also going to say Clifford. We saw some great pace in Monaco from him. He's obviously capable of getting that car up the grid, but he's got to get some points on the table for Force India. That's what they need at the moment. So not long now till the formation lap. Everyone's got to pick their strategy, and we should be able to get an idea of who's going to do what. So then away we go for the formation lap, and let's have a look at what tyres everybody's going to be on. Obviously top 10 have to start on their tyres they qualified on, Z3. This means we'll start on a set of ultra soft tyres, as will Clifford in P6. You've got Spike there, as you said, Aaron, one to watch. He's starting on the hardest tyre possible, going for that alternate strategy straight away. Sean was in P10, and then everyone outside of the top 10 has gone for the super soft tyres there. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I sort of expected at least one or two to go onto the ultra soft tyres, but they've all gone onto the super soft, so they'll be able to stretch them out to about lap 20 and pit for either the ultra softs or the hyper soft.
Yeah, absolutely. Hypersoft's obviously the fastest wearing tyre that you can possibly have in this lineup of Pirelli tyres, so it's going to be interesting how long the drivers can make these tyres last. I'm not really expecting a lot then. So Siege then has really gone ahead with his formation lap then. Squeezy, Technique have all backed off. So Siege then will take his place on pole position. What a lap time from Siege. Puts him at the front of the grid. Now arguably, going into turn 1, you're on the disadvantage going through turn 2. However, we'll have to wait and see how Siege deals with that pressure. Obviously TTL F1 brought to you by weakwifi-solutions.com. Get yourself with them. Improve your internet connection and improve your league racing experience. And it's also brought to you by faithfulgrips.com. Use TTL F1 at the checkout for a 10% discount on your purchase. But right now though, we are here for round number 7 of the Canadian Grand Prix, and those lights will come on any second now. So here we go then for the Canadian Grand Prix. 5 red lights. Round 7 is underway, and what are the starts like? Looks like it's a good start from C10. He's away from the pack. That's Technique in the mix there, trying to go down the inside into turn 1, and now that forces them around the outside for turn number 2. How is it going to look on the exit here? Looks like everyone's got a clean start so far. Poe trying to make his way through the field then. He's currently in P6. That's Clifford up the inside. And Poe has had to back out of the move there. Now he's under attack from Z3 as they head through turn 4. As they fly through turn 5 and towards turn 6. Looks like everybody's kept it clean so far, Aaron.
Yeah, pretty good start from Steph. Put himself up into the points positions. 9th place. Spike has dropped to 10 for our main prediction for the win, but a clean start from everyone. No one has spun or received wing damage, so to them.
Absolutely. So here we go then, into the hairpin for the first time. That looks like Squeezy trying to make a move on Siege then as we head down the long back straight into turn 12. And then all the way down now towards turn 13. No DRS, of course. This looks like Squeezy's got a better setup for the straight then. As we head towards the chicane of turn 13 and 14. Siege backs out of the move. And Squeezy takes the lead of the race. Siege in second. Technique in third there. As they all try and make their way through the chicane there. That was the Alfa Romeo there. Looked like he got a little bit wide. A little bit out of shape there. But at the moment then, Squeezy takes the lead. So then the field is still very close together. All 15 drivers still around about a second between each other. So it's a really close field this round, Aaron.
Yeah, there's only been one position moved up out of the top 8 from their starting positions, and that was Squeezy for the lead. Ollie P looks to be getting put under pressure from Lambo behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Lambo, of course, not being able to challenge for that top places. Ollie's lost the back end very slightly there. That's going to invite Lambo to put some pressure on him as we head towards the hairpin. Then down the inside he goes. Can Lambo get the position done? It's all about traction now as we head towards the slight kink of turn 12. Of course, no DRS just yet, and Ollie's getting well out of the way, but it looks like for now, Ollie's got the better traction there, as Lambo then tucks into the slipstream as we head towards turn 13 and turn 14. He's going to have a look down the inside. No, wisely chooses against that, and as they fly through past the wall of champions on towards the third lap, then DRS will be enabled this lap, and of course, Squeezy lets the fastest lap of the race. Clifford, meanwhile, is trying to go down the inside of Lambo, then Lambo onto the grass as Clifford goes up the inside, and Clifford gains himself a 3-second time penalty, but he's got the position. Up into P5 he goes. Oh, then will be...
pulled out.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, there's a bit of front wing debris there on the exit of turn 4, and that looked like a McLaren. So who's found themselves into the wall, I wonder? Who's pushed too hard and collected themselves? That could be Ollie there. Let's have a look at the front wing of one of the McLarens on Ollie, and at the moment then, doesn't look like too much there. That's a Force India who tagged the wall there. And look at the front right hand side of that front wing. Lambo thought about the move, but no dice, and you can see there that Force India does have front wing damage. So Clifford here is going to struggle. He wanted to go further with those ultra soft tyres. Meanwhile then, Technique trying to go up the inside of Siege into the chicane, but Siege is in. Siege is into the pits. Now, is that the car that had front wing damage? Did I misread the sponsor on the side there? Siege is in, so that allows Technique to go up into second place without really challenging him. Siege then dropping all the way down. And I can't see any front wing being replaced there. That looks like a strategy to go onto the super softs till the end of the race. That's very early for that decision to be made.
Extremely early. I'm surprised that he came into the pits. I was expecting a front wing change, as he said, but carrying on the super softs.
Absolutely. Lighty, meanwhile there, getting the move done on Sean as he heads through turn 3 and 4. And he's up into P11, man on a charge here. Spike, meanwhile, has found a way past Steph there. Up into P8 he goes, of course, on the super soft tyres. He now is the leading super soft runner. Z3, meanwhile, Poe's gone down the inside of Clifford there. Now, Clifford has that wounded car. He's lost a bit of front wing there. So Poe's got the advantage and he's found a way past. Now it's Z3's turn to try and find a way past. Can he try and find that vital move then, Z3? And Clifford comes into the pits then. So this is a change of front wing for the Force India driver. No retirements as of yet, but this could be our first front wing change of the race. Meanwhile then, Lambo still trying to chase down Ollie. Ollie picking himself up a 3-second time penalty, as does Spike. And this is such a tough track for track limits. You always try and push the boundaries, and you always find yourself picking up at least one penalty, especially when you're racing this hard for position. Steph, meanwhile, has found another way past Spike there. Spike is really in a battle with Steph here, and this is hurting Spike at the moment here. The more he battles with Steph, the worse his tyre wear is going to be. And this time Spike gets the move back past, but it looks like Steph led him back through. So maybe Steph wasn't happy with the move he made and decided to give the place back. Meanwhile then, Squeezy still in the lead of the race. Technique in second, Ollie in third, Lambo fourth, Poe in fifth, Z3 sixth, Spike in seventh, Steph in eighth, Lighty ninth, Maze in 10th, Sean 11th, Plaster 12th, Siege in 13th, George Drops 14th, and Clifford is there in 15th place. That was a big tag on the wall there from Ollie into the wall of champions, but has he got away with no damage whatsoever? That would be very lucky if he has. Steph, meanwhile, still trying to chase the back of Spike there, trying to find another way past. Lap 6 of this Grand Prix. As you can see, there is a three-way battle developing for third place between... second place between Technique, Ollie and Lambo. Poe is starting to try and reel those cars in. Z3 running in 6th place. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1, and that is George Roberts, who's found himself into the wall at Turn 2.
Big error then from George. Both missed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's got no front wing at all now, and this is the longest lap ever. He's picked up a time penalty, retires from the session, and that will be the Red Bull driver's day done. Now we'll have to see if that sparks any sort of reaction from the virtual race control. Nothing doing yet though. No virtual safety car, no physical safety car, but Lambo, meanwhile, has found a way past Ollie, I believe. Yes, he has. So he's up to P3 now, trying to chase down Technique Gaming. Up into third he goes, and of course, he is in a big championship battle at the moment. He needs to get as many points as possible.
Yeah, George Roberts' car was parking in the middle of the track. It has been cleared, so there's no safety car needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Squeezy at the moment still in the lead of the race. 25 points would do him the world of good. He's currently 4th in the championship. A little bit outside the battle for now between the top 3, but if the top 3 keep squabbling like they are now, the more chance he has of extending or at least catching up to the top 3 in the championship. So championship leader, meanwhile, Lambo is in P3. Second place in the championship is Poe there in P5, behind the McLaren of Ollie. And third place in the championship at the moment is Spike, who is managing to find himself up into P7, trying to chase down Z3 then. Lambo, meanwhile, into the slipstream with DRS on Technique Gaming. Does he put a little pressure on? He's going to try and make it too wide into the chicane. And they give each other the room, fair play to them. But Ollie, meanwhile, is now licking his lips. He knows these two are battling, and this is going to be a huge favour for him if he can try and make the move. But he can't quite do it, and still down in P4 at the moment. But they are still battling away, Technique and Lambo here. And Ollie's just waiting patiently for his moment here. But Lambo just holding position for now. Technique doing his best to try and defend. And Lambo, meanwhile, will he try and move up the inside? Yes, he will. Tries to switch back. Up the inside he goes. And that is a fantastic move from Lambo. What a move to put himself up into P2. And Technique there, down to P3. Here comes Poe down the inside of Ollie. And he's got the move, has he? No, he hits the wall. Poe hits the outside wall. And has he got damage, I wonder, on that front wing, the right-hand side? We'll have to keep an eye on it. Especially his aero through the high-speed corners. Z3 and Spike are battling away here. Z3 hasn't got a great exit out of the hairpin. And this looks like Spike here trying to take that position away from him. And he does. Spike with the DRS then. And he'll be able to try and pull away from Z3 behind him. Spike then up into P6. As that's the McLaren of Ollie into the pits. And Ollie gets himself a 5-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane. Canada is one of those tracks that's very, very difficult to get that braking point right as you come into the pit lane. And Ollie's going to pay the full price for that. Steph, meanwhile,
Goes
still...
onto the super tyres.
Hey, sorry to cut you off there, but yes, you're right. Ollie back out onto a set of super soft tyres. And who are you watching right now, Aaron?
Just watching Plaster and Ollie. Ollie on those fresh tyres will be much quicker than the Ferrari. We'll get a move done in the next few corners.
I'm having a look at Spike here, who's battling away with Poe as we head towards the hairpin. Spike locking up massively there, but he's going for the undercut there. Out of the corner in the hopes that he has more grip, and this is where we're going to see the Hypersoft start to wear out, as Poe here might struggle for grip in the latter parts of this stint. Here comes Spike then down the inside of Poe, and Poe goes straight on into the pits then. So will that be a move? Sorry, Aaron, I really did cut you off there, but yes, Ollie moves up into P12. Just take the mic off me, Ollie. I think everyone will want that.
Or he's doing the one stop as well, so it looks like nobody's going to do the two stop.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think at a track like this, the one stop is the only option. Clifford putting massive pressure on Plaster, and Plaster's run deep, too deep, and he's lost the position not only to Clifford, but he might lose it to Poe here. And oh, Poe's out of the race. Oh, incredible stuff. I don't know what happened between him and Plaster there, and Z3's out of the race as well. So where's Z3 gone off? He's lost it on the exit of turn number 9, I believe, and he's hit the wall. So Z3 is out of this race as well. Well, that is incredible. One of the championship contenders right now out of this race. Meanwhile, Spike is up into P3 as Technique comes into the pits. He's onto a set of super soft tyres, going for that one stop as well. Lighty up into P4 then on a set of super soft tyres. He's having a good race so far. Finds himself 4 seconds behind Spike, and in the grand scheme of things, that's not too bad. But as Steph runs a little bit...
Technique for 8th position.
Absolutely, and Ollie here needs to just keep his cool here as Technique chases him down, and I think he is building a slight gap here. Just going to jump on board with Siege here as he challenges Steph into the right left-hander, and that is Siege then up a position, but Steph is not going to let him go at all. He might have a try up the inside into the hairpin. Is he? No, he doesn't. Stays behind for now, waits for that DRS. And will he have a move up into the chicane here? Squeezy into the pits, and we'll have to keep an eye on what tyres he puts on. Meanwhile, we're going to stick on board with this battle between Siege and Steph and see how this develops. They take the chicane pretty well, the both of them. Maybe a little bit of tail happy from Steph on the exit. However, you can see that Siege has taken a defensive line towards turn 1. Both Squeezy and Lambo back out onto a set of super soft tyres. In fact, there is Squeezy. Rejoins right behind Steph here and right in front of Maze. And here comes Squeezy right away, wanting to make up positions. And this is crucial now. He's got to get as close to Spike as possible. And you can see how much more grip he has, because he's able to brake so much later, turn in so much smoother and cleaner, that it's almost catching him out. Meanwhile, he's going to try and have a move up the inside of Steph. Steph not giving him a lot of room there, and they do make a slight bit of contact. But Squeezy is through there. Steph was determined not to give him any room whatsoever. Here comes Maze up the inside of Steph into the hairpin. And Steph there tapping the wall very slightly, and Maze has got himself a position. Just waited for the perfect opportunity, and it looks like that opportunity arrived, but Steph isn't done there as they head towards the chicane here of 13 and 14. This is Steph around the outside, Maze up the inside. They give each other the room, and Steph realises at the last minute that it's not going to work and backs out of the move. Maze up into 5th then.
Good move from the Haas driver. Ollie P right behind Technique. Got 8th position. Lambo has bolted away from those guys. Got a 3-way battle with Clifford in the background.
Yeah, we'll have to watch this with bated breath here, because it looks like Technique's just getting away from Ollie. Ollie on 2 lap older tyres. Clifford is right behind him, currently in a point scoring position, which is where Force India really want him to be at this point in time. So good job from them, but I know Clifford wants more. He wants more points, he wants more positions, and he's determined to get it by running as wide as possible through there, really pushing that car to its limit at the moment. Steph, meanwhile, has not let Mays get away then as we head into the hairpin. And you can see there, Steph didn't get the greatest exit in the world, but then again, neither did Mays as he heads out of the hairpin there. And as we head towards the chicane here, Steph going side by side with Mays then with the DRS. And it looks like Steph has the move done into the chicane, and he does. Good move from Steph then. He's back up into P5.
Meanwhile, just behind them, Lambo. Under a second.
Yeah, he's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:11.7. He is determined to try and get that move or get past these two as quickly as possible. These two battling means they get closer and closer into the clutches of Lambo. And Steph losing the back end on the exit of turn 4 there. That's not what he wanted. Will Mays try and move up the inside of turn 5? No, not quite. But you can see there, Lambo has closed up to them massively at the moment. He's looking in prime position to try and get past, but he's got to wait for the opportune moment, is he? And he does. No move tried into the into turn 8 there. But I tell you what, they could try and make it 3 wide into the hairpin here. Mays gets a fantastic exit off the corner. Here we go into the hairpin. Steph down the inside, and Lambo there taking that cutback line, the Vettel line as I like to call it, to try and get himself a better exit out of the hairpin as we head down this long straight now. DRS is open. Who has the DRS between Mays and Steph? It's Mays here, but Lambo's got superior straight line speed. Look at this. Lambo straight down the inside, 2 positions on 1 straight, and Lambo is now up into P5.
Steph hasn't given up though.
Absolutely not. Oh, here comes the Red Bull. Oh, he backed out of that, locked up. That was a half-hearted attempt there, and that has invited the pressure from Ollie. Meanwhile, further up ahead, that is Squeezy making his way past Siege there, round the outside of turn, I believe that's turn 5 there. So that was an incredible move from Squeezy, but he does have the better grip, and that was to be expected. His next target is now Light E. As we see now, that is Technique Gaming. Is he going to try and move up the inside of Steph, heading into turn 8 and 9 there? No, but he has that better grip. You can see now, right on the gearbox now. And again, Steph is not giving Technique that much room on the inside, hoping to slam that door shut. The Technique's still going down the inside, but he's got a compromised line. And here comes Ollie around the outside. He could try and get a better traction zone here. And we're riding on board with Clifford here, who could have a great view of this battle here. And Ollie's DRS goes wide open here as they head towards the chicane. But they've got a similar setup here. And down the inside, there goes that's Steph on the inside of Mays once again. And meanwhile, whilst that's all going up ahead, Squeezy's made a move on Light E. Up into P2 he goes. But we're staying on board with this battle for 6th place. This is incredible stuff. We're nearing the halfway point in this race. Spike is your race leader at the moment, yet to pit. Squeezy is in 2nd. Meanwhile, I've got to stop myself there because that looked like Technique Gaming was going to have a move up the inside of Ollie. And as you can see here, Mays and Steph still have to pit. They form this train. Meanwhile, Technique is going to try and go up the inside of Ollie. Up he goes towards turn 8 and then through turn 9. Trying to shut the door, slam it shut as best he can. And gets the move done on Ollie. But Ollie now is really vulnerable from Clifford then. And Clifford, did he run into the back of the Red Bull there? I couldn't quite see because the camera angle wasn't that great. But either way, he had to lock up going into the hairpin. But at the moment then, looks like Steph and Mays have calmed down a little bit. And they're forming a gap from each other. Meanwhile then, that is Siege going up the inside of Light E. And Lighty there struggling on those tyres now. He has been on them since the start of the race. Mays, meanwhile, I said they'd calm down a little bit, but Steph has got the move. Has he? No, he lost the back end. He's lost the back end. He's on the marbles. And he's going to lose even more time now. Technique is past Steph now. And Steph will be utterly frustrated with that one. Just lost that back end for the split second. He's into the wall now. Has he lost a bit of front wing? That is Ollie just taking his time there on trying to pass Steph. He knows Steph is a bit under pressure here. And that's not the camera angle I want, but we'll stick on board for now. We look up ahead then. That is Technique finding a way past Mays. Technique then up into 6th place. Meanwhile, Clifford has got a great exit here as we head towards the hairpin. A little bit of lag there. Saw Clifford briefly in the car of Ollie, but obviously that was lag on my end. As you can see here, Technique just wants to get away from Mays now, but Mays still in DRS zone. Spike pits in from 2nd place. We'll have to see where he rejoins. He will, of course, rejoin on a faster tyre. Looks like the Ultrasoft he'll rejoin on. And let's go on board to see if that's true. And he does. Ultrasoft tyres on for Spike as he makes his way out of the pit lane. And he will rejoin. Where will he rejoin? He might actually rejoin sandwiched in this battle. And he does. Round the outside. And he rejoins ahead of Steph. Now that was crucial from the Alfa Romeo Sauber crew to get him ahead of Steph there. Great decision from the team and Spike to come in when they did.
Yeah, I think one lap later, and he could have been behind Steph, Ollie and Clifford, so it was crucial for him to come in at that time as he now pressures Mays for 6th position.
And behind them, that is Spike going up the inside of Mays there, up into P6. And Mays, Steph still has to defend from the McLaren and the Force India. And Ollie, he will get frustrated, but he knows to wait for the perfect opportunity. Steph again losing that back end slightly on the exit there. And he is struggling for tyre wear. You can see that now. And Ollie here could be going down the outside. And it looks like Steph backed out of the move there. Now, is there a reason why? No. He just didn't want to go too wide into the chicane. That's probably a good thing to do. So he's done more than half the race distance on those tyres now. So it's safe to say that's been a pretty successful stint from Steph. He's still got Clifford behind him though for P9. Lighty pitted in for a set of Ultrasoft tyres. So that will get him to the end of the race. Ollie, meanwhile, is now trying to put pressure on Mays here. So we're seeing drivers take them, or these tyres, to around about lap 18 at the moment. So those Ultrasofts are going to be maybe screaming for help towards the end of the race, Aaron.
Yeah, that's why Light and Spike have to make up as much ground as possible and overtake the cars ahead of them in order to pull a gap for when their tyres do fall off at the end.
Meanwhile, this is Ollie and Mays battling for position, and it looks like Mays just sort of backed out of the position here. We've got yellow flags in sector 3, as not quite sure who that was, but Ollie has made the move on Mays, and Ollie is up into P6. Spike then with the fastest lap of the race. Oh, that's Clifford. Clifford's into the wall on the start-finish line, and he's lost his front wing. Virtual safety car deployed, so that will help out Clifford for a little bit. And, well, as you say, Aaron, virtual safety car deployed. This is going to give everyone a chance to harvest their energy. Mode 0, lean mixture, and they can try and harvest some energy. Steph rejoined on a set of Hypersoft tyres. Now, that's interesting then, because whilst he's in the pit lane there, he might be able to get ahead of Plaster. And look at that, he has! Obviously the pit lane not part of the racetrack, and away he goes again. Green flags. Well, that was a bit confusing there between Plaster and Steph, but looks like they got themselves sorted out in the end. And this is Spike, meanwhile, trying to take advantage of technique here. So he just found a way past Mays there. And Spike, this is for the position he wants now. Up onto the podium, trying to challenge Lambo for the championship at this early stage. And this is a move he needs to make. Down into the chicane, and Technique backs out of it. He knows going too wide into the chicane isn't worth it. Spike moves up into P3. Oh, that's Mays. He's got a 5-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane. That'll be added to the end of his race. That 5-second stop go. So he's just got to keep his head down. The Force India of Clifford has made it back to the pits. He'll put on a new front wing. And as I said before, that virtual safety car would have helped him get back to the pits, but not by much. So Mays then rejoins behind Steph. Of course, Steph pitted under the virtual safety car. So he tried to take advantage, but he did rejoin on a set of hypersoft tyres, which I don't think, Aaron, will get him to the end of the race.
I agree with you there as well, as Plaster's done 20 laps on a set of super soft tyres. They must be screaming.
Well, Plaster is really good at conserving his tyres. He can take a set of tyres longer than anybody else. So that is just a testament to his smooth driving. So he might be able to actually pull off the hypersoft stint at the end. Either that, or he can really push on a set of ultrasofts. But yeah, he can really look after those tyres when you need him to. Lap 22 of this Grand Prix, and everyone's made at least, well, apart from Plaster, everyone's made at least one stop in this race. Squeezy leads the way. Lambo is in second, Spike in third, Technique fourth, Ollie fifth. Siege, who we're seeing here, is sixth. Lighty 7th, Sean in 8th, Steph in 9th, Plaster 10th, Mays in 11th, Clifford in 12th. Last of the runners. And Plaster, after all that, has come into the pits. So I wonder what tyres he'll put on. I think he'll put on a set of ultrasofts. He'll probably be quite safe towards the end, and he does. Meanwhile then, Siege is around the outside of Ollie as we head towards turn 8. Ollie will have the inside line, but tucks back in. Siege then up a place, up into P5, and Ollie does a little bit of off-roading there. Steph, meanwhile, closing in on Sean. Sean didn't get a great exit. And Steph, is he side by side? No, he's not. And Sean just placing his car there. So that can't happen. A little bit of a tag from Steph from behind. Unsettles the Williams of Sean there very slightly. But Steph down the inside into the hairpin. And Steph has the move done. Up into P8 he goes. Lighty, meanwhile, getting up into P6. He's on a charge now. And how far up the grid can he get now? He's got Siege in his sights here for P5. And on the ultrasoft tyres, how far can he get up the grid now? Well, when you're leading a race like this, 7 seconds ahead of anybody else, you're not going to get much coverage. But Squeezy's still leading the way, though. And there's Lambo in second place, heading towards the hairpin. Spike in third, heading through turns 8 and 9. That's your top 3 so far. Clifford, meanwhile, has got the move done on Mays. And Clifford now is up into P10 on a set of super soft tyres. Interesting call from Clifford there. As he tags the wall, though, on the outside. And that might be a little bit of front wing damage there. Lighty coming out of the hairpin. And coming down the long back straight. With the DRS open, closing in on Siege bit by bit. As we head towards the chicane then. Clipping those curves perfectly. And Lighty's got to focus on that exit towards the start-finish line. And there are, I believe that is 12 laps to go. 12 laps to go in this race. Who are you watching right now,
Aaron? Watching the battle for 5th and Light E. Light on the ultra softs with Siege on the super soft, so Light should be trying to get past the Williams driver.
Absolutely. Here comes Sean into the pits. And of course he did make an early stop. And away he goes again. He leaves on a set of ultra soft tyres. So that will definitely get him to the end of the race. Lighty 6/10 down on Siege at the moment. Slowly turning into 7/10 as we head into the hairpin. And Lighty just trying to prioritise his exit out of the corner as we head down the long back straight. 11 laps to go. Riding aboard with Lighty then as we head towards the chicane. And once again, just riding those curbs beautifully there. And he will have the DRS on Siege ahead of him, 4/10 the gap. As we head towards turn 1. A little bit of grass on the tyre there from Lighty. As he heads towards turn 1. Getting to the right hand side as far as possible. Clipping the grass whilst doing so. Heading through turns 3 and then through turn 4. And you can see here, maybe Lighty's running a little bit of a lower drag setup because he seems to be struggling through the high-speed corners, Aaron.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a lot of ARS deployment left, which could be slightly hindering his speed down in 20%, which is a bit of an issue to conserve that back up to around the 50-60% now.
Yeah, absolutely. ERS playing a huge part in this. Canada is one of those tracks that uses the ERS so quickly. But Lighty has now dropped to a second back, and he's out of DRS range, Aaron, so that could be a good sign for Siege then.
Maybe a sign that those ultrasofts are starting to go off just a little bit.
Yeah, there is one driver I'm worried about, is Steph. Whether he makes it to the end on those hypersoft tyres or not is a huge question. But the field is pretty much spread out now with 10 laps to go. And this is a chance for Spike now to try and close the gap. 4.1 the gap between him and Lambo. And it is coming down very slightly, but not at the rate that maybe Spike would want. As he makes a mistake there, coming out of turn 9. Rare to see from Spike, and it's cost him around 4 or 5 tenths there. IT, meanwhile, is still trying to close up on Siege a little bit, and that throws his braking point out. And on the exit there, he's got to get this right, because he's got to stay in DRS range. Technique, meanwhile, is being closed in by Siege as well. So this could be...
Yeah, just comparing the top 3 lap times, Gleesy's last time was a 1:12.3, Lambo 1:12.6, and Spike 1:12.2. So Spike lapping the quicker out of the top 3 and catching Lambo by around half a second a lap.
Absolutely, but half a second a lap might not be quick enough. Who have we got in Sector 3 then? We have yellow flags somewhere. Not entirely sure what that yellow flag was for. Maybe the marshals just fancied a flag waving display. Siege, meanwhile, has closed right up to Technique Gaming. 0.3 of a second the gap is. This is a chance for Siege to really get past the Red Bull driver as we head towards the hairpin. Will Siege try a move? It's a little bit too far back. But you can see their Technique locked up there, heading into the hairpin. And that threw Siege off a little bit. That's Lighty behind them, hoping to try and take advantage of this situation. Siege will have DRS on Technique. Technique instantly goes defensive into the chicane. And are they going to go too wide into the chicane? No, they don't. Technique backs right out of it. And in doing so, he might leave himself vulnerable on the exit of the turn from Lighty. And Lighty, will he try and go down the inside? No, he backs out of it. But Technique makes a mistake there. Into turn 1, he's run too deep. And Technique loses out. He's down to P6 now. It's unfortunate from Technique. Just under a little bit too much pressure. But he is getting to the end of the life of those tyres. Can he make them to the end? Here comes Steph into the pits. And no pit crew to be seen at the moment. But there he goes again. Onto another set of hypersoft tyres. That will put Sean up into P10 for the moment. Here comes Steph towards the end of the pit lane. So expect that battle for the last point to get a little bit tasty. Siege, meanwhile, has caught up to the back of Spike. Spike has been really struggling. He's fallen 13.1 seconds behind Lambo here. So whatever's happened to Spike, he's now really struggling, losing the back end there out of the exit of the chicane there. So this could be a chance for Siege here to try and grab a podium.
Maybe that was the yellow flag we saw a lap ago.
Maybe, but does Spike have any damage? Of course, he's on ultra soft tyres, so you would think he'd be trying to pull away from Siege at the moment. However, those tyres wear a lot quicker than their super soft counterparts. This is a fantastic opportunity for Siege to try and make a move. and get himself some valuable points here. Spike under pressure. How will he handle it then as we head towards the hairpin? And we'll see. Try a diving move. No, he won't. He'll wait for the hairpin and the DRS zone. As we now head down the back straight here. Spike has already tried to go defensive, trying to get Siege out of his slipstream, but here comes Siege flying down the inside. So much more speed than the Alfa Romeo Sauber, and Siege makes his way up into P3, and there's not a lot Spike can do about that. Here comes Spike then. Will he try and move down into turn 1? He does, but the door slams shut there, and he had to back out of it. So Siege then up into P3. 6 laps to go, and that move would have hurt for Spike there. He's out of the podium. And is that front wing damage on the right hand side there, Aaron, of his car?
Quite hard to tell. Maybe a slight bit of end plate loss.
Well, I said this battle for the last point would get tasty, and it has done just that. Sean trying to defend from Steph, who was on a set of hypersoft tyres. So he's going to be a lot quicker, but he's got to make his moves quickly, and this could be a move here. Losing the back end, very much so, out of turn 2. Here he goes towards turn 3 and through turn 4, but he can't find that way past. Lighty, meanwhile, is he going to have a move up the inside of Spike, then towards the chicane, trying to go too wide now, and he has to back out of it. Spike has to take to the in-road there and gets himself a 3-second time penalty for it, and Lighty there will sail by up into P4. And on the exit, does he have the traction, Lighty? Yes, he does. And with 5 laps to go in this race, he could try and close in on Siege, which he's doing right now. And he could be the one to try and grab the podium then. Steph, meanwhile, is looking to try and find a way past Sean down the back straight with the DRS open. And Sean tucks back in, and Steph grabs the last points paying position. He's at 7.9 seconds behind Mays in 9th place on a set of hypersoft tyres, so we'll have to see if that gap closes down. And at the moment, as Squeezy starts lap 32, there are 4 laps to go here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Lambo is in 2nd, and Siege is running around in 3rd place. Lighty is in 4th, Spike in 5th, Technique in 6th, Ollie is in 7th, Clifford in 8th, Mays is in 9th, Steph in 10th, Sean is in 11th, and Plaster is in 12th place. And this is Spike into the pits, Aaron.
Yeah, I think he's gone on to the hypersofts. His ultra softs are completely worn out. He was sliding around a lot on those last couple laps.
When Spitzy goes, on go a set of hypersofts, and away he goes again. So if there was damage to the car, he hasn't decided to repair it. And he'll rejoin in 7th place, 10.7 behind Ollie. And with 4 laps, that's a huge ask. So, Squeezy then, heading towards the final chicane. As he heads towards the start-finish line to start lap 33 of this Grand Prix. 3 laps to go. He's had a pretty quiet race, has Squeezy, apart from turns 1 and 2 on the very first lap. But it's been quite a drive from Squeezy at the moment. Let's see what battles might be developing towards the end of the race. Lighty can't quite find the pace to close in on Siege. He's starting to fall back now, and that may be due to the tyres. Is this a second callback for Technique to try and grab P4 away from Lighty? He's got a job on his hands to do it, but he could try and grab 4th place away from the German Ferrari. Can Clifford finally hold on to some points in TTL and score the first points of the season for Force India? He's only got 3 more laps to go. Spike here in 7th place, 6.9 the gap is to Ollie. And we'll definitely see a fastest lap of the race from Spike here, that's for sure. But is it going to be enough to close in on Ollie? 6.1 the gap. Flying through turn 9 now. And towards the hairpin. It's now 5.1 the gap, so Spike is on maximum attack. But again, is he closing in enough? I don't think he is. Flying through the chicane now, and this will be... Oh, he's clipped the wall and lost a bit of front wing. Spike, though, does set the fastest lap of the race, 109.9, but he's lost that crucial bit of front wing and that crucial downforce. And I think any chance of him trying to close in to Ollie have all but scarpered now. With that damaged front wing, yeah, it's too much. He's struggling now through the high-speed sections.
Yeah, you said that Wall of Champions would be a pain for somebody, and Spike has found it out the hard way.
Absolutely.
Damage with 2 laps to go as he hits the wall again.
Yeah, it may not have claimed a victim today, but in terms of a retirement, but it might have just claimed a bit of front wing that Spike needed. 3-second time penalty for Spike as he's pushing as hard as he possibly can. Meanwhile, though, Squeezy has started the final lap of this Canadian Grand Prix. He started it in the lead, and can he end it in the lead? Well, it's been a pretty dominant display from Squeezy. He may not have grabbed pole position, but he's proven his moves and his strategy have worked a treat here today. And not long to go now before he can grab a win in season number 11. Rounding the final few corners now as he heads towards the hairpin. And the McLaren driver has made it look easy today. Down the back straight he goes. And be able to see him. Will he coast towards the line? I'm not sure he's coasting, but he comes towards the chicane for the final time. Through he goes one more time. Towards the start finish line he goes, and it's going to be Squeezy who wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Lambo will come towards the line, and he will finish on track in 2nd place. That's a great drive from Lambo, considering where he started in P5. Pretty much out of position for him. Siege, though, is going to come towards the start-finish line. He will grab the final place on the podium. That's a great drive from Siege. Lighty, qualifying ban to 4th place. A nice day's work for Lighty there. He can be happy with that one. Technique finishing in 5th place, 600ths of a second behind Lighty after penalties. That must be so frustrating. Ollie comes across the line in P6. Spike comes across the line in P7. And we'll see here Clifford with pretty much half a front wing now. But he will come across the line to claim his first points and Force India's first points of the season in 8th place. Mays there will come across the line to finish in 9th place and jumps Clifford through penalties. Steph comes across the line. He will finish in P10 and Sean will cross the line to claim P11. But your winner today for the Canadian Grand Prix is Squeezy. Well, Aaron, we had it all. A dominant display from Squeezy, great midfield battling, and lots of strategies to talk about during this race. It's been a fantastic Canadian Grand Prix, and Squeezy walks away the winner.
Fantastic job from the McLaren driver as his teammate in 6th. That gives 33 crucial points for the McLaren team in the Constructors.
Absolutely, and Squeezy can be very happy with that one. He pulls himself into the championship battle, but in terms of the championship battle, it's going to be Lambo who takes a hold of it. All those penalties, I said it was difficult not to get penalties around here. Squeezy then grabs first place in the race. Here's your official, unofficial results then. Lambo in second, Siege is in third, Lighty fourth, Technique fifth, Ollie in sixth, Spike in seventh, Maze in eighth, Clifford in ninth, Steph is in 10th, Sean is 11th, Plaster finishes 12th as the last runner. Retirement Z3 Poe and George Roberts from the Canadian Grand Prix. Well, in terms of the championship, it will be Lambo that grabs the lead of the championship, outscoring both of his rivals, Poe and Spike, and he takes a grip on the championship lead. So the next race then, Aaron, is the French Grand Prix. So it's a first for TTL, visiting France for the first ever time in the league's existence. So should be a very interesting race at the Paul Ricard circuit. Named as a few by a test track by many people, but we'll have to wait and see what battles it promotes as we head there on Thursday. Until then, though, we've got some interviews, so we'll see who stays in the lobby, and we'll see who wants to talk to the press, Aaron. Well, let's talk about the race then, Aaron, for a little bit. Your moment of the race, if you could remember it.
That we had about halfway through the race for about P6, I think it was. I think that was quite a good moment out of a lot to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was a great race, filled with drama throughout, and hopefully we can see the same again at the French Grand Prix. We'll give it a couple of minutes, like I always say. The drivers need that time to basically get their heads together, recover from the race, and get themselves in a position to actually speak to us. Because if we speak to them right after the race, there's emotion everywhere. I've done it before, and it's okay, but I'd rather leave the gap so that everyone has the time to compose themselves, winner or not. In terms of the race then, leave your comments. What was your moment of the race? So, let me take a picture of everyone in this lobby, and then I can try and invite them all. I'm inviting you to the party as well, Aaron. How's that? Right, let's have a look. See who we can invite. Always a little bit of a gap to fill when I've got to invite everybody to the party as best I can. So, invites have been sent out, and we shall see who will join us. So then, here we are, our first driver into the party, and into the, what's it called? The press conference. There you go. It's Steph. Steph, how are you?
Could be better, mate. Could be better, but I have to take the point out of it.
Yeah, talk us through your race then.
my qualifying for starters was absolutely crap. Just about to start off my hot lap, my first hot lap on the set of super soft, and then obviously had a painful lap disrupted me. Then literally try to go for it again and end up cutting the last corner. Eventually I did get a lap at the end, so qualified on 11th. The race on the start, yeah, I got a good launch in on the start. Literally jumped a couple of cars in front of me, and I was all going through those and fine, just following the pack in front. And then somehow my rear started to get overheated on the set of supers, and just like pretty much battling the car than it is battling the cars around me, to be honest. Kept on track, and then when the virtual safety car came out, I thought, yes, go in the pits. Only for them to put on, the pit crew decided to put on hypers instead of ultras, and I just absolutely went miffed after that. But put in a couple of fast laps as much as possible, and then obviously I had to try a second penalty over my head, and I was battling with Sean, and just like when he had penalties, and then just literally for the last lap just chucked the car anyway, just hope it freaking sticks.
Well, yeah, we were talking about the virtual safety car. You rejoined a set of hypersofts. Was that the plan?
No, it wasn't. I was open going on set of ultras. I had a strategy set up for one stop, and the game decided to do its thing and mess around with my strategy. So
Well, that was unlucky then. I've been the victim of that, so don't you worry. However, you have a point out of it, and that's better than nothing. Looking forward to the French Grand Prix then. TTL's never been, and I'm assuming that's the track you've practiced the most.
wow. Whereas I practice the most is one thing. See how it goes in France. Did race on it like in career mode, just trying to like learn track from that way, and obviously off season testing around there as well. Pretty much see how it goes. Not expecting any miracles around there, but if I do get points out of it, I'll be happy with it.
And if you had to narrow down your perfect finishing position, where would it be?
Wow, where's I nail down? As long as it's like the second half of the top 10, I'll be majorly happy with that.
Yeah, great stuff. You did have a good battle with Damon in the end. Obviously, you had to pit in for another set of hypersofts halfway through that stint. That must have been pretty annoying.
It was annoying. I was literally, I know that I was trying to avoid that complete tide, so I said to stuff I'm completely avoiding the hypers because I know what it was like. So if give me second fastest lap time, I'll take that and a point. But it is what it is, and just gotta move on.
Oh, great stuff. Well, thank you for talking to us, Steph, and we will see you in France.
Indeed, Cameron, we'll see you in France. Take it easy.
Take care of yourself.
And
So the next person to interview us is Z3. Z3, how are you?
Well, surprisingly well.
So talk us through your race then.
Well, quality was decent. Did a few mistakes on my lap, but managed to pull through in 8th with the ultras. But I was happy about that. In the race, I'm not sure what happened. It felt like the ultras were hyper soft, to be honest. They just fell off straight away. So on lap, I guess it was around lap 5, the rears started just losing all the grip, overheating a bit. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but they get hard to drive on basically.
Yeah, and obviously, what happened during your race? Because I think we missed it.
At the time I crashed out.
And was it just a little bit of oversteer, or just lost the car?
It was just oversteer. Tires they were just gone. So much earlier than what I expected, and like, I tried to cool them a bit down, but that wasn't much of an option either, because I knew that Spike wasn't far behind us, and he was on charge with his super, so I tried cooling them a bit down, but didn't get to cool them enough down, and in the end, when I tried to push, the grip was just, it wasn't there. and then the rear just went in. I can't remember which corner it was, but yeah.
Did you say you or would you say you regret qualifying on the ultra softs, or was it something that was always in the plan?
I was always going to do that. I set a banker lap on the hypers, but that was hella heavy fueled, and then I was always planning on going out on the ultras.
So we've got the French Grand Prix coming next. Have you been practicing?
Not at all.
Oh, that's a good start.
Ah, well, I mean, like I love the track, but haven't figured it out yet.
So where would be a good finishing position for you at France?
First, but I don't think I can get first.
Well, I'll certainly put some money on you, don't you worry.
I wouldn't do that.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for talking to us, C3, and we shall see you in France.
Definitely.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
And next person in the commentary box is Spike. Spike, how are you?
No, mate, I'm right yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously a frustrating race. I could feel it up in the commentary box. Just talk us through it.
Which bit? The bit where I had to avoid Z3 nearly crashing in the first lap, or Steph pushing wide, or Lighty doing the move into the final chicane where I had to basically go off the track to avoid us crashing, and I get a corner cutting penalty for that. I don't know. Or was it the bit where on one lap I was in, was it turn 5, and the car just rotated? I don't know why. It was exactly the same line every lap, no more throttle than before, and it just spun like a top. So that was annoying. And then the tyres wouldn't come back. They just, after that, they were just gone. Well, what I was trying, I couldn't get the tyre temperatures back to where they need to be. So I was just sliding all over the place after that. And then I thought, well, there's kind of Steph having fastest lap, so I put some hypers and went for a fastest lap. And then I hit the wall, I think, on the end of that lap. So broke my front wing then as well, I think.
Yeah, you broke your front wing and still set the fastest lap of the race on that final straight. I reckon that little bit of less aero helped you on the start-finish line there. Yeah, absolutely. But frustrating then. Lambo takes the lead of the championship. Are you worried?
No. I wasn't even thinking about it, to be honest. I was just trying to enjoy the race. It was a bit. I thought I did too many laps actually in quali on the supers. I don't know why I went out again. I thought I could just go a bit faster, because the 109.4 I made 2 quite substantial mistakes. So I don't know what sort of lap time I would have pulled, but I might have been more like sort of 4th or 5th on the grid, and that would have obviously been a bit better. And like Z3 was saying, the ultras were rubbish, basically like they are in real F1. They were absolutely terrible. They did 4 or 5 decent laps, and they just sort of well, like I said, it was after the spin they just wouldn't recover. So it was one of those things, unfortunately. But I'm not worried now, because I had, the tyre corrected. I was well on the pace, and if I'd perhaps done everything the same as everyone else, I might have had a chance of winning, but I didn't.
So moving on to the French Grand Prix then. What's your ideal finishing position?
No idea.
So you
I don't
haven't.
really like racing around car parks, to be honest. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say test track, but yeah.
Well, it is a test track, yeah. Well, maybe we can get the sprinklers turned on mid-race or something.
Maybe.
Or make a bit of a better spectacle, perhaps.
I'll put a word in, see if we can do it.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was still good fun as always. Just unfortunate. I mean, I was closing Lambo quite sort of progressively. I wasn't taking massive chunks out of him. I was closing him, and then like I said, on that particular for some reason, I don't really. I have to watch it back. Maybe it was slightly on the curb more, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was exactly the same position, and it just literally spun before I even had a chance to get any counter steering. So unfortunate. I had so many. I mean, the penalties list at the end of the race was rather embarrassing, wasn't it? I don't think anybody had less than 6. I think.
Yeah, but that is Canada for you. It's always that way.
And it's extremely strict on this. On F1 2018, I think it's even more strict than it was on the last game, which is I don't know how they've managed it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very very strict.
Well, then we look forward to seeing you race in France, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, mate. Thank you.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Spike. Take care of yourself.
You're welcome.
And that, Aaron, is that.
Indeed.
Oh well, we've watched a great racing today, I think. Canadian Grand Prix, always a fan favourite, always my favourite. France then, are you looking forward to France?
Yeah, it's going to be a track where I think there can be more battles, potentially a 3-wide moment on that super long straight. I'm definitely looking forward to it on Thursday.
Great stuff. Well, we hope you can join us on Thursday. Aaron, will you be here Thursday?
Yeah, I will.
Great stuff. Dream team, as E3 called us, back on Thursday. Anyway, so obviously we will be starting the stream at around about 5 to 8 British summertime. Hope you can join us for the French Grand Prix in round 8 of TTL F1. In the meantime, though, I've been Kieran McGinley. And who have you been, Aaron?
So I just got disconnected.
Oh, is that your new name? I've just got disconnected.
Sorry.
Go on then, say your name. Go on. Round this all out.
Aaron Cullen was.
There we go. Take care of yourselves, guys. We will see you next time.